Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Broken Brand. And today I'm going to do a quick review over the Justice League and RWBY movies that came out last year, but just hit Max this past year. First installment came out, I think, around January, February. Watched it and realized, oh, the second part came out and watched it today. Actually, I went back and watched both because it's been a while since I saw the first one. Now, everyone knows the Justice League, DC animation. It's phenomenal. I'm sorry, Marvel. Marvel up to Endgame live action movies. They were the king. They always beat DC, with a few exception of a couple of the Batman movies. But when it comes to animation, DC's always been king, always. And I've watched a majority of the DC animation and Marvel, and it's just fun. They can tell shorter stories that don't get explored in movies and series and things like that, and it's fun. Now, RWBY, which I think is affectionately called RWBY, is was created by a studio called Rooster Teeth that got their start with the web series Red versus Blue, which is a Halo gamer series that made they scripted things and acted them out in the Halo game, record them and upload them. It actually is pretty funny, but that's the studio, and Warner Brothers years ago bought them, and unfortunately, I believe this past March, Rooster Teeth Studios has been officially closed by Warner Brothers. So it's because Warner Brothers owns both DC and Rooster Teeth that we got this crossover. There was a comic crossover, and then they made the movies. Honestly, I wouldn't have seen this crossover coming as something as you would do. It just seemed weird. It seemed weirder than the Batman Scooby Doo crossover, which is hilarious, by the way. Love that one. But it's even more bizarre than that. And really, because RWBY is like a shoujo anime. It's kind of more of a teen girl style anime that is fully CGI, highly computerized graphics, and the way it looks. It's very you're like, oh, it's just, and it's a particular style. It's not a particular style I like. Nothing against it. I just don't prefer it. And the cast is an all female cast, and there's a lot of LGBTQ relationships in it. And I didn't know any of this until I saw these two movies because, oh, I started to see what these are. Because I never watch RWBY, but I know Justice League in and out. So I was like, okay, we'll go ahead and watch it. I watched all the DC animation. So the first movie is essentially the Justice League gets sucked into the RWBY world, which is called Remnant, and everything in that, including the Justice League characters, are animated in the highly crisp, over crisp CGI graphics. And okay, not my preferred, but still gonna watch it. And it was an okay story for a little bit, and then I was like, okay, all of the Justice League, when they're pulled into this universe, are turned into teenagers. You know what? I should probably stop here and say this. There will be spoilers. Just in case the word review didn't inform you that there will be spoilers, there will be spoilers. So, the Justice League is pulled into this other world, and they reveal how later, but they're all teenagers, teenage versions of themselves dealing with their personal trauma that they've never dealt with. That's kind of what they're being pushed to do. And this is where, okay, it kind of gets a little esoteric, existential. It's kind of, okay, why are we doing this? But okay, I'll keep going with it. Seems a bit weird. Fight sequences are actually on point. They're great. The fight sequences look good. They're choreographed well. They're despite the animation style, the fighting looks good. But then they went and did Bats dirty. In his teenage self, he's like, oh, now that I have this power, I can do more good here with these powers than I can back home. That 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 no, that's never been Batman's deal. Batman's deal has always been Gotham. Gotham is his city that he protects, and he helped form the Justice League to help save global catastrophes. But in the end, his motivation is still Gotham. And to say that because he's a teenager now he gets these magical powers in this other world and grows wings, that he wants to stay here with this. He's really considered staying here with these abilities to do more good here, kind of forsaking Gotham altogether. I'm like, yeah, that's just no, wrong. Sorry, no, didn't like that at all. Then I was like, that was in the first movie. I was like, okay. And by the end of the first movie, they reveal who one of the main villains is, and it's a character villain from the Flash universe. If you've watched the CW version, he makes appearance in about 3 or 4 episodes. I think he's not a very well known villain, but to accomplish what has happened, he's the villain that you need, and his name is Kilgore. Now, but with a percent sign instead of an O. Don't ask me why. Don't know. And there's a second villain that's also from the RWBY world. They've got together, and together they're trying to, take out the heroes from both worlds so they can create their own, remake both worlds in their own image. And I thought, okay, that's kind of how the first one ends. And then, okay, let's watch the second one. Now, my hope, because I hadn't seen the second one or even watched a trailer for it, was okay, yes, let's go back to DC animation. Now they're back at Earth. Nope, we stick with the very, very super ultra crisp CGI that just visually is not appealing to me. It just almost hurts my eyes. Um, don't know why, but I digress. It continues on that they figured out who the villain is in the first one. Now it's revealed who the second one is, and because I don't know the backstory very well of this other series, it's a villain named Watts that they thought had died in, I guess, subsequent seasons of this show before they got here. He's come back and he's uploaded his consciousness, and they're still trying to battle it out to take control of Earth. Even though their original plan failed, this is backup plan B, and that's how it goes through, and it comes to a nice conclusion that, okay, both villains are caught. Since they're both technically artificial intelligence at this point, they lock them up in a, what do they call it? Hollow disk. Basically a virtual world that they can't escape. And RWBY goes back to their world and the Justice League stays in theirs. And that's the summation of it. I mean, really, it'll take you about 2.5 hours. I mean, they're both a little bit over an hour each. And it's just a weird crossover. I mean, the story wasn't terrible, but with such a very niche property as RWBY, it has very little appeal to the masses. And honestly, I wouldn't have picked it up at the store if I saw it, because I would seen RWB and I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. I know nothing about it. But the fact that it's now on Max, okay, I'll watch it. And I'm glad I didn't purchase it because I'm not a fan of it. Despite the fact that, yeah, they did bats wrong and the animation style is just not to my liking. It's just kind of a okay story. I mean, it's nothing to write home about. I mean, it really it's just a mid Justice League story, and a lot of people are like, oh well, I love RWBY. great, then you'll probably like this movie. I have no concept of it. I mean, I have knowledge of what it is. I've seen a couple clips over the years, and I have some information. I couldn't tell you character from character, but I kind of know what it is. And even though they explain a lot of the mechanics and what happens in their world and how everything works there, it still just kind of feels like this is a very niche movie. And only people that really like RWBY will probably love this. And if you're Justice League fan, you're DC fan, you want to watch this, and you're like, oh, okay, another one, you're probably going to be like, eh, not great. I mean, cool story, not great. And the animation is going to throw you off if you're not used to it, because it's nothing like any of the other DC animation. It's not even as Batman Ninja, as weird as the animation style and the bonkers story that it is better than this. Don't get me wrong, I absolutely adore Batman Ninja. It's hilarious, fun, and insane. It's a fantastic movie. I love it. It's like, why would you do this? Okay, I see why. I mean, it's weird. It's great. And it's a different animation style, but it's kind of drawn how you would do this version if you did like a hand-drawn version of it, not CGI. It's very linear, very stout drawn lines that are just kind of like everything seems like it's just over outlined. And so it's a very different animation style. I prefer that over this CGI version. And so I think the average DC fan is just going to watch this and be like, oh, that was a waste of time. And it's kind of like me. Once I watched the first one, I got to watch the second one. And that's why I don't ever start a series unless I'm determined to finish it, because it never, that little nagging voice in the back of my head just won't let me forget that I haven't finished it. So here's the plus side. Since Rooster Teeth Studios is now completely closed, there will not be another Justice League RWBY crossover. There will never be an RWBY crossover, period. Warner Brothers will maintain the rights to the material, but they have absolutely no plan to do anything with it. So it's just going to sit on the shelf, and they'll probably make some money doing some reissues of collector's editions, collections now that the studio is closed, celebratory, complete collections, and things like that to get some more money out of the Rooster Teeth Studio collection that they now own. But we're not going to see a new product from those characters and series that Rooster Teeth created. So personally, if you're a DC fan, just skip this one. It really is just one of those you're like, and I'm done. I mean, I was glad that I finished it. It feels, even the still photograph that you see here on the screen is more animated, more hand-drawn animation look than actually is in the movie. This looks better. The cover art and the press art for both movies look better than the actual animation in the movies. That's just my opinion, and I'm just going to stick with it. You can disagree with me. That's fine. If you're a big RWBY fan, you've watched it, you love the series, it's great. Awesome. Me, this just feels like a last minute cash grab. Like they're producing it in 2023. They released it knowing that come the end of the first quarter of 2024, they were going to shut Rooster Teeth down. Hey, let's see if we can get one more cash grab out of it before we shut this whole studio down. That's what this feels like to me. So I could be wrong, but that's my opinion. This isn't fact. I don't have any notes or any sources saying that that's what happened. This is just my opinion. So with that, as always, my friends, remember this. I love you all, and there's nothing you can do about it.